When asked if killing animals is moral, he says that he is a nihilist. When Cosmic Skeptic uses the term net positive, he becomes a reactionary, calling it evil, even though anyone with more than half a brain cell knows exactly what Cosmic Skeptic means. He is not justifying rape and murder by using the term net positive. He is definitely not saying that it is okay to rape and torture animals if overall existence of these animals was positive. Oh, no wonder he used to disable his comment section. He is definitely not saying that it is okay to rape and torture animals if overall existence of these animals was positive. Oh, no wonder he used to disable his comment section. Quote, we're quoting exactly what Cosmic Skeptic said here.
Even if we're sort of not sure what we think ethically about taking the lives of animals if they've had a net positive existence, which I'm actually quite sympathetic to the view that if they genuinely have a net positive existence and that existence is parasitic on the idea that they will be killed eventually, that might actually be good for the animal, probably is good for the animal.
Quote, that might actually be good for the animal, probably is good for the animal. Close quote. That's the claim verbatim. If you know anything about the history of animal rights, you will know that it is an explicit reference to the philosophy of Peter Singer, and the latter is explicitly anti-vegan. Frank, you have to look in the mirror and ask yourself, is this who you want to be? Do you really want to be this stupid for the rest of your life, or are you going to put in the work to make some kind of fundamental change? It's not a choice you make once. It's a choice you're going to have to make every day and every hour of every day. One of my old catchphrases on YouTube was, it ain't deep, but it's real. What we're talking about in this video is both deep and real. It's really profound. It really matters beyond the narrow limits of YouTube and beyond the narrow limits of the vegan movement. I can say honestly, if you're one of the viewers of my channel who has no interest in veganism, keep watching. In politics, when you're dealing with profound ethical differences, it's very easy to dismiss the evidence that's right in front of your face. It's very easy to not let yourself see how bad and evil and wrong and stupid and malicious someone really is, especially if you like them. But even if they're a complete stranger. Many years ago, when I was involved in the Green Party, there'd be extreme left-wing people and extreme right-wing people at the same event. There would be neo-Nazis attending the same event with traditional communists because they were both somehow connected to ecology, environmentalism, possibly even the anti-war movement, frankly. Whatever their connection was that brought them to these Green Party events. And to give an example that's relatively low intensity, I remember there'd be left-wing people who had never spoken to a conservative person in their lives, who had never had a conversation with a right-wing person. And they'd meet someone who openly said that they support free trade. I saw this right in front of my face. Who said, no, they support the free trade deal between the United States and Canada. They support expanding free trade even further. And the left-wing people would just blanket out and refuse to recognize that this is what they were seeing or hearing. They just respond to this by dismissing the evidence, and they would say to the other person, no, you're just saying that. You don't really believe in free trade. You believe in fair trade. And then they would spell out their left-wing doctrine and say, this must be what you believe in. And the right-wing person would sit back, no, I don't believe in that at all. And they would say whatever their right-wing libertarian position was. And the two sides didn't connect. They didn't exchange views. They didn't debate, and they also didn't clash. Each side sort of voluntarily blind to the ethical and political reality of the other. This is part of the politesse of the 21st century. If you meet someone who really tells you that they're a Nazi, if you meet someone who really tells you that they're a communist, face to face in real life, you might be surprised at how hard that is to deal with, how hard it is to deal with emotionally, how easy it is to rationalize or dismiss the evidence that's right in front of your face. The vast majority of people in the vegan movement did this with Peter Singer. They wanted Peter Singer to be this genius. They wanted him to be this important and influential ally of the vegan movement. And the reality was, simply and bluntly, his own philosophy was crazy. His own philosophy was flagrantly immoral. And in fact, when you read the fine print, it's anti-vegan. It's undermining the central tenets of veganism. Really, his significance has been to destroy the vegan movement from within. It's very easy to overlook that. It's very easy to meet this guy at an animal rights conference and shake his hand and smile at him and to steelman his arguments. This is a piece of slang that's emerged on the internet as the opposite of straw manning someone's argument. To steelman their argument, to imagine the same way that left-wing person did at a Green Party conference. Oh, you say this terrible thing, but you must really mean something else, something I would agree with. I don't believe Frank Lee is even aware that he is engaged in, that he is trapped in this kind of excuse-making mentality. When he says of Cosmic Skeptic, quote, he is not justifying rape and murder by using the term net positive, he is definitely not saying that it is okay to rape and torture animals if their overall existence was positive. That is exactly what Cosmic Skeptic is saying. And he is walking in the footsteps set down for him by Peter Singer. They are very explicitly, very clearly saying, within certain limits, eating meat is okay. Within certain limits, drinking cow milk is okay. And then all the stages of production that lead up to that end product, including the forcible insemination of the cow, what we would commonly call rape, raising the cow, having it live in captivity its whole life, so on and so forth, right down to the knife and the slaughterhouse floor, that is justified by the net positive utility, not only of that animal's enjoyment of life, but even more dangerously, even more disgustingly, the human utility, the enjoyment, the supposed benefit of eating the animal's flesh, milk, cheese, and so on. My father was a slightly famous person. He was famous within his field. He published many books. Right now on YouTube, I think you can see a couple of interviews with him and lectures from him. When he died, his obituary was written. The various people made various magnanimous statements about his life and accomplishments. If you get famous, this will happen to you too, even if you are famous just on this small scale. Did anyone mention that this guy was a raving communist? Did anyone in any of these obituaries, any of these assessments of his life's work and accomplishments, any of the articles written about him, basically at the time of his death, did any of them reflect on the fact that this was a man who vocally and openly endorsed and supported mass murder carried out by Joseph Stalin, mass murder carried out by Mao Zedong in China? There was nothing subtle about it. It was just as blatant as what Cosmic Skeptic and Peter Singer have gotten away with within veganism. But people didn't want to hear it. People wanted to rationalize it. People wanted to steelman the argument. There is a profoundly related question of youth and ignorance. Peter Singer, 76 years old. Cosmic Skeptic, perhaps 23 years old, perhaps 24. I don't know precisely. Many of you in the audience will simply be flabbergasted that I am holding Cosmic Skeptic to such a high standard. Why can't I just relax and let this guy make his own mistakes? Well, there are two important things to say in response to that. One, why did everyone let my father make those mistakes when he was 23, when he was 24? Why didn't someone try to save him, even if we're just talking about saving him from his own stupidity? Now, I've formally studied cult phenomena within religion. I also have a lot of informal experience with cult phenomena. I have a background as a scholar of Buddhism. It's not worth digressing into that. I can talk about religion and politics. I can talk about politics in religion. I can talk about religion and politics. Many of these people, whether you know them face to face or whether you just see interviews with them on YouTube, the question often crucially is, why didn't someone try to save you? Why didn't someone try to challenge these beliefs you had? Why didn't someone try to deprogram you back when you were 23, back when you were 24? What do you think? You think we should wait until people are 76 years old and they're set in their ways and they're maybe their whole life has already been ruined by these beliefs? No, you got to talk about this with people in their 20s. You got to talk about this with teenagers. If you are yourself an ignorant person, regardless of your age, I would encourage you to get on YouTube and start making videos talking about politics and history right now. But I'd encourage you to talk about things you have studied, talk about things you have experienced directly. Challenge yourself, push at the limits of your own knowledge, push at the limits of your own understanding. And when you recognize that you've made a mistake, when you recognize that you have been in error, or now you have learned something that proved that what you said earlier was wrong, change. Respond to the criticism, adapt, learn, and change. And that is what is so pathetically lacking with the current generation of social media influencers, whether we're speaking about people within veganism, within atheism, or within politics, as broadly defined as possible.
Now, I'm going to be talking about depression today because there's some new research from the Journal of Molecular Psychiatry that basically tells me that what I've been teaching for the past 25, 30 years is wrong. And this is related to serotonin and depression. Now, for all these decades, we've been teaching and working on the assumption that depression was caused by the lack of serotonin. In other words, the lack of this serotonin neurotransmitter, this chemical transmitter in the brain. The lack of this serotonin is what was depressing mood. Deficiency, depression. Deficiency of serotonin causes depressed mood, causes depression. And that makes perfect sense apart from the fact that it's wrong.
This might seem like the least politically contentious example I could possibly offer you, but for millions of people, this is incredibly politically contentious. Feelings about this are intense, to say the least. I confronted Mike the Vegan about the untrue, misleading, and harmful information he was putting on his YouTube channel about marijuana. I proved to him that no, marijuana has really serious negative health consequences, including brain damage. That the harm you're doing to your brain by using marijuana is very serious. And I know for a fact he saw the video because I wrote to him and he replied to me. He has seen and understood the contents of this video. His assumptions have been challenged by the peer-reviewed scientific information that I gathered together, put in that video, presented to the public, presented to him, and I'm presenting it to you now. Why couldn't Mike the Vegan change? Why couldn't he make a YouTube video saying he was wrong? Why can't he make a YouTube video thanking me? Saying, hey, here's this other YouTube channel, and it really put together a cogent argument backed up with scientific studies and facts that everything I believe in and everything I've been saying for all these years about marijuana and its health consequences, that it's untrue. This is a big change for me. This is a big paradigm shift.
No more drugs for that man.
When it comes to the significance of Peter Singer and his intellectual legacy in the vegan movement, do you think the day will ever come when Unnatural Vegan makes a video simply admitting that she was wrong? Simply admitting that she was wrong, I was right, I put many hours into explaining to her exactly what she was wrong about, that she saw and heard those videos, and that she changed her mind. Now, what about you, Cosmic Skeptic? Where is it going to go from here? Are you going to grow into an old man in your 40s, 50s, and 60s, clinging to rationalizations for unbelievably irrational ideological commitments you made in your teenage years and your early 20s? Or are you willing to do the very thing that skepticism entails and question your own bullshit? That's a topic for a video.